For some reason, I've been seeing a lot lately comments that I hate video games. I've noticed this has become a trend since the Resident Evil Village video, because apparently if you like a game, that means you like everything about the game and you're not allowed to criticize anything about said game. And look, as someone who's been on the internet for most of his life, I realize that people are extreme and you either love something or you hate it. But this shit's just gotten ridiculous at this point. And even on the E3 video, which has somehow become my most viewed video, which is kinda crazy. It's almost at 250,000 views, which honestly I would have never thought. It's not even a real reaction video, I'm just narrating over my blank stare at a screen. But still, so many comments about saying I just hate all video games or something. So today, we're gonna talk about what I like about video games, just so that I can link to this video every time somebody makes a stupid comment. And honestly, one look at my channel, just one look at that classic game reviews section that everyone is so scared to check out because Zoomers hate old games, you fucking casual fucks. I mean, I can't think of anything less important to video games than graphic fidelity, and yet, that's what the majority of people are obsessed with, and they wonder why video games are so bad these days. But I digress. I've made, roughly 20 positive reviews on this channel, because pretty much every one of those classic reviews is positive, except maybe the Crash Twinsanity one, and even that one I just said it was okay. But no, that's not what people want. People want me to mindlessly praise and shill modern games. Why? To defend your favorite corporation that doesn't give a flying fuck about you? I mean, really? That's where we're at right now. The average man has become a corporate shill, whether they know it or not. And look, I'm probably wasting my time posting a video like this for multiple reasons, because one, none of those people are gonna watch this. And two, most people these days can't handle tough love. You'll hear any insult or criticism and instantly go to, oh, my ad hominem, as if that somehow takes away from any of the points I'm making here. No. But it's fine if you want to close your ears to the truth and just mindlessly convince yourself you're having fun playing the same exact fucking games every year or every other year, depending on whichever company you have a shrine to in your closet. But no, this is not supposed to be a rant video, so I should probably get back on track. I still really enjoy video games, okay? I don't enjoy a whole lot of modern games, which I pretty much outright said in my last video. And they seem to think I hate every video game, or at least every modern video game, but they might be onto something. Which not that many people watch, because again, old game, and slightly obscure. Believe it or not a lot of people have really played Far Cry 2, or if they did, they don't really want to watch a video on it, probably because the game didn't leave that much of an impression, or they just hated, some of the mechanics, like malaria or weapon jamming or whatever, right? So, I get it. That's not what this is about. Honestly, it's just a trend in general, people not wanting to see any retrospective reviews anymore. Maybe these days every YouTube channel is just supposed to do one thing and only do that thing, and I can't seem to decide what I really want to do because I have ADD and can't really focus on one thing long enough. I'm constantly just interested in other shit. It just seems like lately my channel's been just kind of going through the motions. I haven't felt super passionate about anything I've been doing lately, to be honest. I don't know if you people could tell or not. Probably some people could. And this was never supposed to be a nostalgia wank channel, and it's not meant to exclusively be a modern games review channel either. It's basically just whatever I feel like doing at the moment, right? And it just so happens that modern game reviews are what people want to see. I mean, it makes sense, I guess. But it's just so tiresome to see people that are so anti-criticism. And I really just think it's Reddit. You can call it fucking a boogeyman in my head and they're living rent-free or whatever the fuck, But truly, I've never seen a culture of people who hate criticism more than Reddit. I don't even think they understand what it means, right? Because every time they criticize something, it's coded in either a layer of irony or you have to apologize before you make the criticism. That's how pathetic it's gotten. So these are the type of people I think watching these videos, not knowing who I am, and they get a fucking knee-jerk reaction because they're used to even Angry Joe or Skill Up or whatever having to sugarcoat all of the problems with modern video games that aren't related to microtransactions or DLC or something. Because the fucking issues go so much deeper than that. But I swear that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about what I like about video games. I promise I don't hate video games. I promise. Maybe I should just start off by saying what games that I am playing when I'm not reviewing something, right? Well, I just got into modding Fallout New Vegas, and I already loved New Vegas. It has, a lot of issues. The main appeal of the game has always been the world building, the writing, especially like a lot of the dialogue in that game's pretty awesome. The issues are mostly just, the controls, especially the shooting just still kind of feels wonky. Not as bad as Fallout 3, obviously, but not great. It's very slow paced in a lot of parts. The wasteland itself doesn't have that many interesting locations, even if there are a lot of interesting unique guns in them. A lot of repetitive copy-paste caves in New Vegas, And so that's where I kind of got into modding, where it's like, how many of these things can I fix? How many things can I make more interesting? And then I just kind of got more and more carried away. I didn't get like crazy and do like those monster mods that just have all these weird immersion-breaking monsters, but I definitely added some questionable shit in there, but at least it keeps things interesting. And yeah, I've been just having a lot of fun. I mean, it's amazing how simple quality of life features from Fallout 4, which were probably the only good things in Fallout 4, make New Vegas that much better. Like the quick looting, sprinting, holding your breath while sniping, things like this. Some of that's fairly common in other games, but New Vegas didn't have it, and now it does. Only problem really is the story mods. I mean, I didn't talk about the Frontier earlier this year, and I actually regretted it a little bit because I actually dug into it in the past month, and goddamn, what a train wreck.
If it's what I have to do to not be alone, give me the collar, Master.
A hilarious train wreck, to be honest. I'm always amazed when people have no shame in putting like their weird sexual fetishes in anything they make. What bubble do you live in that you don't understand that people know that shit is cringe, right? And honestly, it's worse than cringe. Cringe is a nice way of putting it. It's honestly disgusting is what it is, But it's also funny. And honestly, the Frontier is so deeply layered in its issues I kind of wish somebody made like a 3-hour review, because I probably would actually listen to a 3-hour review on it. It's just that comprehensive in how bad it is, especially the NCR campaign. And so I didn't install either of the major story mods, which is the Frontier and New California. And even New California, man, that's the one people say is good. I've seen more than enough to know it's not that good, right? However, I did install For the Enclave, which it's a minor story mod that just takes place in the base Mojave Desert, right? And yeah, the writing's terrible and the voice acting's even worse, but you get to join the Enclave. That's something. You get power armor early and stuff, and there's some kind of cool things in it. It's just neat. If you want to talk about recent game releases, something that actually released this year that I enjoyed, Necromunda Hired Gun, believe it or not, I actually liked that game. It had a lot of problems, like a crazy amount of problems, but I actually liked Divine Cybermancy, which was one of that company's older games. All their games are Eurojank as fuck, but it's fun. I mean, it's basically just Doom 2016 with RPG mechanics. The story is complete shit. And I don't know that much about Warhammer, and I doubt this game is going to get you into 40k, that's for sure. That being said, I just think the core gameplay was pretty fun. Your character got way too overpowered as you went through the game, but a very fast-paced combat. You just shoot stuff, and it's a good time, It doesn't take much for a game to be fun. I guess, yeah, that's where I can transition into what do I actually like about video games, right? I guess to keep it simple, I like a very solid gameplay loop. At the end of the day, that's the most important thing in a video game. I mean, you can put in all these other distractions, mini games, gimmick levels like a turret section, on-rail shooting, or, escort missions, whatever, right? But at the end of the day, a really solid gameplay foundation, I can't remember which Bungie developer it was that said, like, the core gameplay loop, the 30-second loop, was the most important thing about Halo 1.
In Halo 1, there was maybe 30 seconds of fun that happened over and over and over and over again. So if you can get 30 seconds of fun, you can pretty much stretch that out to be an entire game.
And yeah, he was right. He did clarify that quote was like condensed too much, but I think most people got the point, which was that just that base shooting, you know, grabbing ammo and health after the fight's over and then getting into the next fight, and just keeping things interesting from a level design perspective, keeping encounters interesting, that kind of thing. Like Resident Evil 4 to me is the perfect example of how to design a game, you know? Just have your core shooting be really solid. You know, I know people hate the whole, oh, you can't move while aiming thing. I think that's perfect the way it is, right? It just makes everything about aiming. And just try and vary the encounters as much as possible. I mean, Resident Evil 4 is constantly throwing new shit at you. I've said it in other videos. I don't need to say it again. You know, maybe someday I'll redo that very first review. But the point is like or hate the game, it's constantly putting you in different situations, right? Almost everything else about a game is significantly less important than that. People have grown so focused on story in games, where it's like a story in, I'd say about 90% of games, just exists to give the gameplay a reason to exist. Like, to get you immersed into why you're doing what you're doing, right? To give you a purpose, maybe to make a character more interesting or something. I mean, the thing about video games is it should be easy to relate to a character. You're playing as the character, right? So you really don't have to try that hard unless you're purposely making your character unlikable, like some, you know, recent games that I won't mention have done. But when the story becomes a distraction, when it no longer is interesting enough to hold your attention, which is many, many modern games as they try to chase the idea of making video games into movies, which is the dumbest fucking thing in the world. That is the last thing any real fucking gamer wants, is video games to turn into movies. If you want that, you are part of the problem, plain and simple. If you're one of the people pushing for every Sony exclusive to have like 30 hours of cutscenes in it, fuck you. Just fuck you. You are the fucking problem. It's sad because I'm one of the people who really like The Last of Us. I mean, if I played it again today, I probably wouldn't like it as much. But The Last of Us is honestly the cause for why games have gotten this way. You could say it's earlier than that. You could say Uncharted 2 caused it. But I think Uncharted 2 had the perfect balance where that truly was like, it was just like an action movie, right? You had your short cutscene to justify what's going on, and then you had your gameplay, and there was witty banter during the gameplay that didn't stop the gameplay, which is important, right? As long as the gameplay keeps going, there's not a problem. Except for like those slow walking segments, those are always shit. Assassin's Creed loves those. A lot of people use Half-Life 2 as the perfect example of how to tell a video game story. It never takes control away from you. Like Resident Evil 4, while it does stop for cutscenes, they're just cutscenes, right? It's not like, oh, I'm still in the game and the game is forcing me to do something I don't want to do. No, you're watching a little short movie scene, always less than 5 minutes every time, and then you play the game again. That is the ideal. That is how games used to be made. No, now it's all movie bait shit. But again, the sickness goes much deeper than that, because even games that don't really do this as much, and this is probably not a good example, because I would argue that Far Cry actually does it quite a bit, at least in the modern ones. Far Cry is a game thought like, oh, you're thrown in a sandbox, you do all this crazy stuff, you take out these guys in these creative ways, and yet it's not creative. That's the thing. Every game after Far Cry 3 was basically the same. Some people like Far Cry 4 better, and Far Cry 4 did add a few new tools and sort of leaned more into the chaos action angle than the stealth angle, which is fine. But Far Cry 5 added nothing, dude. Like, basically nothing. And yet, there's all these people, and I can only assume that they're teenagers or, like, adults who didn't play any previous Far Cry game, much like there were many fucking people who played Fallout 4 first. If there's any opinion I don't want to hear, it's someone's opinion on Fallout that started with 4. You're not a Fallout fan if you started with Fallout 4. Just shut your fucking mouth, okay? Whatever, this is supposed to be a positive video, right? Another thing I love, obviously, is level design, which ties into the encounter design I was already talking about with Resident Evil 4. But I think the big thing in my childhood that introduced my love for level design was just 3D platformers. Because when you think about it, that is most of the gameplay loop in a 3D platformer. Especially any 3D platformer where you don't actually gain new moves like Super Mario 64 or, you know, Spyro 1 or something. The level design is everything. It is purely the design of the levels to give you variance in how the game plays. If the game plays exactly the same from beginning to end, that's all you have, and so the levels had to be good, and they were, you know? I mean, Super Mario 64 isn't my favorite by far. In fact, believe it or not, I actually like Sunshine more. Though I definitely admit Sunshine is the most flawed, especially from a technical level, of all the 3D Mario games. Sunshine is definitely my favorite, regardless. And you guys already know the first Spyro is my favorite game ever made, so, you know, take my opinions with a grain of salt on that front. But growing up with 3D platformers and the sort of action platformer genre like Ratchet & Clank and Jak and Daxter, I don't know, you just have to take that into perspective, right? When you think about what I criticize, you have to understand what I like. And that goes for any critic, right? I could throw you a bunch of criticisms of Angry Joe. I could probably throw you a million of him. Of like Skill Up, or I don't know, this is a bit of a stretch since he's not really a modern reviewer, but you know, like Act Man or something. There's a million issues I have with these people, but every criticism they give, you just have to take into perspective what games they like, you know, and if they don't like the type of game they're reviewing, then you can throw their opinion out. But here's the thing. For the most part, I don't review games and genres I don't like. I mean, there are some exceptions. Like, I probably shouldn't have reviewed The Medium, but honestly, I was just trying to look for some semi-popular game that was releasing in January, and there really wasn't anything. So, if you throw out my opinion of The Medium, that's completely fine by me. But when I give all these criticisms of Resident Evil Village, and then you have idiots telling me I'm not a real fan of Resident Evil, I've reviewed like half the fucking series at this point. You think I'm not a fan? I played all of the games. But no, people can't handle it because just because they like something and they're still in that like post-orgasmic feel, I guess. I don't know what else to call it, but I guarantee you in 6 months' time, people come around to at least half of my criticisms with Resident Evil Village. And honestly, it is so bizarre to me that people think you're not allowed to like a game and also have problems with it. You know, despite the title, which I'm sure already triggered like a shit ton of people, I was pretty positive in that review. I mean, sure, I had some issues, but I thought the shooting was pretty fun, which is why I wanted more of it. People seem to be confused that I wanted more shooting and more horror, as if those are completely mutually exclusive. And I don't mean horror in like the, oh, I'm scared sense, just more horror theming. And I understand to a degree that the game is definitely supposed to be based on, you know, like the classic Universal Pictures horror monsters or whatever. That doesn't excuse it in my eyes. That game was such a disjointed experience. That was my main criticism. Again, people don't even fucking get the point of the video. It's that the pacing of the game is all over the place. At one moment you're shooting a shit ton of enemies, the next you're not shooting anybody, the next you fight like one small group of enemies and one boss, and then the next part you fight like 100 more enemies. Does that not feel weird to some people? Another thing that I've kind of talked about vaguely a few times that I have problems with are indie games, right? And it's just the type of thing where indie games have sort of pigeonholed themselves into a select few genres. And people like to pretend this is not the case. It definitely is. 90% of indie games fit into like 4 or 5 genres, right? I can't name them all off the top of my head, but you know, it's like puzzle platformer, walking simulator, visual novel, roguelike. There's probably a couple others, but the point is, people who like AAA games and people who like indie games, there's not crossover in interest there. You can like both things, but there's very little overlap. So when people say that indie games are objectively better than AAA games, for me, they're not even comparable. And indie games have their own host of problems, with a lot of indie devs being very overt about their political views and, in many cases, shoving said messages into their games. That's never fun. But again, since this is supposed to be a positive video, I'll name my favorite indie game, or probably my favorite indie game, at least it's the one that always comes to mind when I think of good ones, A Hat in Time. A Hat in Time is definitely one of those games that I would call underappreciated, right? And I understand that most indie devs could never make something like this because it takes more manpower than the vast majority of indie teams would ever, you know, be able to have. I mean, what, most indie games are made by 5 or less people. Whereas A Hat in Time feels like a middleware 3D platformer, you know, something like Gex 2 or something, but really good, right? And you can definitely see the inspirations from Super Mario Sunshine, which, like I said earlier, is my favorite 3D Mario, so it's no surprise that I really like A Hat in Time. A Hat in Time has its own problems, mostly just that it's too short. Even with the DLC, the game feels too short, and the first DLC is a lot more linear, and the second one is the complete opposite in a good way, but still, they kind of feel disjointed in their own ways. That being said, I really enjoyed that game. I love 3D platformers. They're so rare these days, especially when you have something like Bayland Wonderworld, which is a giant piece of shit from what I've heard. Maybe I'll talk about it if I can bring myself to play it. This is a bad segue, but I guess I was just thinking about it. Probably one of the biggest criticisms of my channel that I would agree with is that I play games that I know are going to be bad, right? And that's true, but I try to be as honest as I can with you guys. I'm doing it for the views. I'm just going to be real with you. That's the truth, right? The only way for a small channel to make it is either to constantly cover whatever everybody's talking about or just have really high quality content. I can't do the latter option. I just can't, right? I'm not a good editor. I'm not particularly stand out in any other ways. My content format is extremely played out. You know, the game reviewer is one of the most oversaturated things on YouTube. So pretty much the only thing I have is my personality, right? That's what I'm selling you guys, more or less. Yeah, I cover shit that I know is going to be bad sometimes, right? I'm probably going to play Aliens Fireteam just because that video shitting on the preview, surprisingly got a lot of views and a lot of pushback for no reason, because I can't see how anybody would think that's going to be a good game unless you're just a moron. I don't know, but maybe it'll be good. Maybe I'm the moron. We'll find out in like a month or two whenever it's coming out. I never go into playing a game wanting it to be bad. Do you know how much I wanted Biomutant to be good? Even if most people didn't give a shit about that game, I want THQ Nordic to be successful. I want middleware to be successful more than I want indie to be successful, to be honest. Because indie just doesn't have the budget to make the types of games that I love. So, what's my next best hope? Middleware. But middleware is fucking dead. It's pretty much dead anyway, you know? THQ Nordic is like the only company making a concerted effort to make these AA games, as some people call them. But honestly, most of the things they made in the last few years just don't cut it. Darksiders 3 was a very shallow Souls clone. Biomutant is a completely soulless open-world RPG with nothing original in it whatsoever. You know, they've made a few decent remakes. I like the SpongeBob one quite a bit, even though nobody watched that video. And I've heard the Destroy All Humans one is also pretty good, though I think people had some problems with it that I don't quite remember. Like, you have to understand that cynicism comes from experience. Obviously, there are optimists out there where no matter how many bad things they experience, it doesn't affect their worldview. Personally, I think that's idiotic, but in some ways I envy it, because generally being positive is better than being negative, right? The problem is there's only so many times you can be disappointed before you just look at things realistically. And I've been disappointed more times than I can count in the past 10 years. People like to blame, the last console generation, but it started before that. It started like late PS3 360 era, Stuff like Dead Space 3, Mass Effect 3, that's really when this stuff started. Obviously, they didn't invent gaming disappointments. There have been disappointing sequels as long as gaming has been around, more or less. But not the way that modern games are disappointing. Old disappointments were usually just because companies didn't know how to expand the formula anymore. It wasn't because developers stopped giving a shit or there's all this corporate interference that you have to include all this shit in your game. No, back then it was just like, well, we did so well the last time, we don't really know how to improve on this. I think Metroid Prime 2 is the perfect example of that, because Metroid Prime 2 in a vacuum is still a really great game. It's just that the first game was a fucking masterpiece, did pretty much everything right that they could do right. Obviously the shooting mechanics leave a lot to be desired, but I think every other element of that game is nearly perfect. I know people hate backtracking, but I don't mind it that much, to be honest. But nowadays, games are disappointments because there's no innovation. There's no fucking innovation. You're playing the same game every other year. What do you expect? Honestly. And to address something, I can't blame people for not watching to the end of my videos. You know, if you make a video over 20 minutes, probably only 10% of the people who start the video are going to finish it, right? So that's fine. If it wasn't clear, I don't think Far Cry 2 is the best Far Cry game. I was just, trying to create a catchy title. I've done it many times at this point. I don't know if you noticed, but the Ratchet & Clank video title has nothing to do with the body of the video whatsoever. But even Far Cry 2, though, it feels like a unique experience. I have many of the same problems with that game that everybody else has. The only thing I like that a lot of people don't like is weapon jamming. I did like weapon jamming, but everything else I thought was terrible. Malaria, constantly driving around, you can watch the video, right? But that being said, I still had more fun playing that game than Far Cry 5 because it was something different. Far Cry 5 is exactly the fucking same as Far Cry 3 and 4, except for like very minor tweaks in the RPG mechanics that honestly I think are even worse because it made you do things you don't even want to do just to get skill points, right? Honestly, just doing these other things wasn't fun, so it didn't make a fucking difference. You know what I mean? I think people just got really attached to the idea of it taking place in America, when for me, that's the opposite of what Far Cry's about. You want to explore exotic locations, right? Plus, they just jumped the shark with the ending, really. The villain is right and the world gets nuked at the end, really, come on. And then, yeah, New Dawn sucked. I played that too, honestly, and yeah, it was actually terrible. That was a quick cash grab for sure. And that's what I'm saying, man. I could go on and on and on. And people don't seem to understand that disappointment doesn't always mean something's bad, right? I call Metal Gear Solid 5 a disappointment. Does that make it a bad game? No. But it's not what Metal Gear fans wanted. Granted, I'm not sure what Metal Gear fans want anymore either, because Metal Gear Solid 4 is the complete opposite of Metal Gear Solid 5, and is also kind of disappointing for the same reasons, right? Whereas Metal Gear Solid 5 had a very vague story that was only explained through fucking audio logs that weren't even interesting, and also had a shit ton of extremely repetitive missions. Metal Gear Solid 4 had like 20 hours of cutscenes and 6 hours of gameplay. So yeah, people don't really get it, I guess. It's just that it's so evident if you've actually played the games, which again, that's the problem, is that these people who criticize my channel haven't even played old games. I guarantee you. And so again, you don't even have a criticism, right? If you refuse to go back and play old games, why are you even here? Except to just make some stupid comment to get some upvotes to justify your shitty view, And really, that's what it is. What's the point of overanalyzing fucking YouTube comments? It's just a circle jerk like Reddit at this point. It used to be that YouTube comments would shit on everyone for any reason. And honestly, it was better back then. Yes, I actually believe that. No, now it's either you're circle jerking the creator because he's extremely popular, so every single comment is like fucking kissing his feet, which thank God I don't have an audience like that. At least not yet. I mean, there's a few of you out there who maybe like my content a little too much, but let's just hope that I never get to the point where I just have an army of fanboys, because that's the death of, any progress for a channel. I probably had some other point, but I forgot it. Whatever. Anyway, I'm not even sure what to take this exactly. I could just like reminisce about old games. I know people kind of want to see my favorite games of all time video. I think I'll save that. You already know Spyro is my favorite game of all time, even if you didn't watch that video, because I think I've probably mentioned it 2 or 3 times, and here you go, I've mentioned it again. And honestly, my picks aren't that weird. Probably at least half of them are games considered to be some of the greatest of all time, like Metroid Prime, or Dark Souls, or Resident Evil 4, If you're expecting a really outlandish list, you're probably not going to get it from me. The only other ones that really stand out are just, games I grew up with. Like, Ratchet & Clank Up Your Arsenal, or Jak 3, or whatever, shit like that, Kingdom Hearts. And honestly, that's all it takes to know what kind of games I like, is just look at those games. I like action RPGs that have good progression systems and, an interesting story, we'll call it that. Keep in mind, Kingdom Hearts 1 is my favorite Kingdom Hearts. The story wasn't that, ridiculous in the first one. At least, not nearly as ridiculous as it gets. It's pretty stupid still to have, like, Final Fantasy characters cross over with Disney properties. But, it has its own charm to it, especially if you're a kid. But yeah, I like action RPGs. I like challenging games. I like 3D platformers. I like shooters. I have no idea if any of this video was even remotely convincing that I don't hate video games. I don't know. I think no matter what I do, people will think that, probably, just because they don't understand criticism. They understand fanboyism, you know? If you trap yourself in a fucking echo chamber with a bunch of yes men who are exactly like you know, NPCs, as the meme goes, right? Then of course somebody like me who actually analyzes video games for problems will seem foreign to you. So for many of you, this video is going to seem very redundant because you feel the same way I do, you know, if you're a fan of me, that video games used to be, you know, amazing and innovative, and of course there were always bad games. Nobody's going to dispute for a moment that there wasn't, like, piles of shovelware, you know, over a decade ago. That doesn't matter. We judge video games by its peaks, not its valleys, right? The point is, video games have had so few peaks in the past, like, 7 or 8 years that it's very noticeable, right? It just seems like people's tastes have gotten shittier, or their standards have lowered over time, because people are, honestly, they're jerking off mediocre repetitive games. I don't understand why, I just don't get it. I don't get it on any level. I mean, these companies aren't paying you, they don't care about you at all, except for that you buy their product. So why defend them? And honestly, I just feel like an easy way to dispel this notion that I hate video games is, why would I have started this channel? You really think I would waste my time editing these videos just because I hate video games? I mean, maybe there are a few people out there who do that, but I'm certainly not doing it for money. I think it's pretty evident to anybody who knows anything about YouTube that ad revenue's in the toilet, and I'm a small channel, so I obviously don't really make any money. Now, if you say I hate video games because I'm jaded, fine, sure, that makes a lot more sense, at least. But I certainly didn't start this channel just to hate on video games. I just don't understand how it can be so obvious to some people that video games have gone downhill, and other people are like, what are you talking about? I don't know, video games are the best they've ever been. Yeah, okay. If you ignore every single controversy there's been like the past 7 or 8 years, whether it's about microtransactions or politics or just straight up buggy, unplayable games, that seems to be a trend too, even among AAA games. Looking at you, Cyberpunk. I don't know, like, this makes me sound like a boomer, the youngest boomer maybe, in fact, but I really think it is Zoomers, or at least people who never gave a fuck about video games growing up, and now are suddenly getting into the video games in the last few years, and they're like, wow, video games are amazing. Yeah, because you've never played a fucking masterpiece in your life. The moment that you play some truly amazing games, maybe you'll understand why we think video games are shit now. Maybe I do need to cover some more masterpieces of the past, but again, I have to appease the algorithm, guys. I'm not proud of it, but it's just something that all YouTubers have to do. And nothing's really going on right now, which is why I don't really know what content to upload except things that people request, right? And yeah, to bring it home again, this is another point that I brought up in other videos. A lot of these retro reviews are games I'm playing for the first time, okay? And I still think they're awesome. I'm not just telling people what they want to hear. I still address the problems I think those games have. I've even done that with games I'm nostalgic for, like Ratchet & Clank and Jak and Daxter, right? It's gotta be Zoomers. That's the cope that I'm telling myself. I'm telling myself it is Zoomers. They refuse to play old games, so they've sold themselves the lie that everyone's just overrating these older games and that new games are the best they've ever been, despite all of the extremely obvious problems that those of us experienced in this medium. I guess the point of this video is that it's a waste of time to respond to YouTube comments, so the next time people say I hate video games, I'll just link this video, and if that doesn't convince them, fuck it, it's not worth talking about anymore. Shit, dude. It's just a stupid argument to begin with. And honestly, if you use the word toxic unironically, you're a fat. Mamma mia! Hey guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed that sort of rant, sort of positive. I think that may have ended up more negative than positive, but I guess that says a lot about me, doesn't it? But I hope you enjoyed it. Do the things the algorithm liked. Hopefully I'll be near the end of Deus Ex by the time that I upload this, and so it shouldn't be too much work to come out with that next week. And then after that, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm definitely at least going to play Astra's Wrath and like maybe script some stuff out, but I don't know. I'm just getting that hankering to cover something current for some reason. Maybe I just want to shit on games again. There's too much positivity for me. I got to go negative again. It's just in my nature. I think that's what people like anyway. So, yeah, maybe I'll cover news for once if anything interesting happens this week or next week. But yeah, that's about it. I'll see you next time, guys.